I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby.
And we have to talk about something, apparently. If you've been following our story over the last couple weeks, you know we were, I think exactly 2 weeks ago today, kicked out of a campground, the Montrose San Juan RV Resort, formerly a Jellystone, in Montrose, Colorado, for receiving a package.
For breaking a rule.
Yes.
Unknowingly breaking a rule, receiving a package.
And it was our fault for breaking the rule.
Absolutely.
We missed the rule. The
On
campground's response was quite the overreaction.
It's like at a 10, and we needed them at a 2, and that's fine.
But what has happened since
Makes my palms sweat.
is where this gets crazy. We're happy to own what happened with that situation, and a lot of people have thrown tons of support behind us. However, some people felt we weren't telling the whole story and that there must be more to this story. The campground has latched onto that, and they put out their own statement about what has happened. Their statement states that we were cursing and screaming at the Montrose County Sheriff's officers. It states that there were problems with our children before this incident, many complaints about our children, and it states that we flipped off police officers, and it states that it was the police officers' decision to remove us from the campground. They also claimed that the gentleman from the family that we are traveling with grabbed the campground manager, assaulting him.
That was their first statement.
Yeah, that's the only public statement this campground has made, and they have shared it everywhere.
Yeah.
It's an utter fabrication. But what has happened since? Just last night, the man that co-wrote that statement, who is a friend of the manager of this campground.
And lives at the campground.
And has been commenting on several of the videos and posts that we've made about this situation, was given a platform to share yet another version of the story. The third fantastical fiction of the story. Science fiction, really, that involves us being hunters who have guns that the campground was scared about. None of us own guns or have ever hunted.
But there's zero issue if you are a registered gun owner and you go hunting.
But they were apparently afraid that we had guns. There were so many complaints about our children that they sat us down to talk about them and work them out. We were only there for 2 days, and one of those days was mostly spent at a national park. Absolutely absurd. They rail against homeschoolers. They rail against full-time families, not only any full-time families, but also specifically members of the Full-Time Families Organization, which we're a proud member of. They claim that our friend spit on the manager. Not only did he grab his arm, now he spit directly at him. And they claim that the Montrose County Sheriff drove us to the county line to eject us not only from the campground, but from the county.
I think what is so unbelievably disappointing is that these lies, which are so easily refuted by just reading the police report, was given a platform last night to share these lies by someone who claims to be a journalist. And any good journalist would look at the police report and say, these two things are not lining up.
Any good journalist would just take some of these claims and maybe push back on them a little bit, or perhaps contact us. Most everybody who has been listening to our podcast for years or watching our YouTube videos has been on our side, and that's great. But if you don't know us, or if you don't trust our version of the story, and listen, I get it. It doesn't make sense. It sounds absurd that somebody would be ejected from a campground for receiving a package. It sounds like there must be more to this story. That's fine. We would only ask you to look down in the description of this video and read the Montrose County Sheriff's account of the situation, which in great detail presents the campground's own statement in their own words that aligns exactly with our story from the beginning. No mention of any assault, any grabbing arms, any spitting, anything like that. No mention of any threat of guns. No mention of any situation with our children. No mention of us cursing or screaming at police officers. And it clearly states that it was the campground's decision to remove us, not the sheriff's. And if you watch our live video, I don't even know why they try to spin lies when it was clearly on a live video. We were not escorted to a county line.
We drove our campground
on our own accord. The sheriff's deputies were not standing at the end of our sights the whole time. In our video, clearly they're far away in a vehicle just waiting for us to leave. we drove to another campground 7 miles up the road.
And we would like to say, too, that our neighbors, our friends that we have had the pleasure of getting to know and traveling with are some of the nicest people that we have ever met. They are incredibly generous human beings, and they do not deserve to be dragged through the mud. This has nothing to do with them. Our friend defended us, just as any friend would do, and he did it in a way that was completely acceptable. He apologized for the language he used,
even though he use of one swear word.
One swear word. And you know what? Last time I checked, that's not illegal. We'd also like to say that Full-Time Families does not deserve the sort of hate that was thrown at them last night on this show. They are an incredibly beautiful and generous organization that was so kind to us in some of our darkest moments last year. The homeschool community that I grew up in, I am a graduated homeschooler. I homeschool my children. The homeschool community is a beautiful community. They do not deserve to be dragged through the mud like they were dragged through last night. You can dislike that we put that video out. You can be mad that we exposed your campground. You cannot attack innocent people who weren't there, who don't deserve it. I'm sorry you're angry, but all we did was get a package delivered to your campground and then try to apologize for it.
Honestly, we thought it was kind of funny until you came after our kids.
Again, you want to be mad at Jason and I, you can be mad at Jason and I can stand up and I can defend myself. But I'm not going to stand back and let you tell lies about my children either.
I also want to say this idea that was also spouted on the show last night, that there has been some sort of orchestrated effort to go after this campground with form emails and form letters that all sound the same. As I've said time and time again so far on our YouTube channel, as well as in comments, we are not asking anybody to do anything on our behalf. We're specifically asking people to not go leave reviews on some of the campground review websites that we are friends with, that we love, like Campendium. Please don't go and leave reviews about this campground that weren't your experience. We really appreciate the support.
But please use that support to make wise decisions about your vacations and where you stay as a camper. There's no need to blast them. The 75 one-star reviews prior to our stay are enough to just show that this is a very long, very deep, very abusive pattern by the management at this campground.
In fact, we found out that they have called the police 4 times within the last month. They're abusing police resources in this area.
And you can see that for yourself if you go over to the Montrose County Sheriff Department's website and just look at their police blotter. You can go and vet these things for yourself. We couldn't make this stuff up. We might have degrees in theater, but this is so far beyond anything I could ever write. It's wild. And this, we hope, is the last time publicly that we're going to speak about this, and we really, really encourage Montrose San Juan and the PR firm that they have hired to think long and hard before they continue this narrative that is so inflammatory and so full of lies. Because on the private side, we are exploring a whole lot of options. This is so upsetting.
So we're not about drama on this channel, on our social media.
Unless it's a brain infection, and then we're drama.
We hope that those of you that are new here will join us for lots of fun travels and lots of fun RV talk in the coming weeks, months, and years.
Yeah, and we look forward to getting to know you, and we look forward to talking to you, and we hope that we have an opportunity to see some of you at the campground, because campgrounds are a really, really wonderful place to get to know people and to escape from it all. So thank you for taking the time today to listen to us, and we look forward to seeing you down the road.
Bye, everybody.